Okay, next, our floppy drive. The case has got a couple of plastic plates and you've got to get rid of one of those. If you look inside, there's a little clip, and you just push the clip, take out the plate. There's your floppy. Just slides in like that. Yeah, you can see that. And the screw holes will line up here. So go back to your screws, get one of those dome-headed screws, and just put in one. Just one will do. Actually, not that one. Use the little lipped screws. Yeah, there's about 12 of those or something in the package. Blue tack it on the tip. Yeah. Just put that in like that. There you go. It's your floppy drive. Make sure the front lines up nice and flush. Just there, you can see. Look, it sticks out. You just can finger tight it there, so it's just flush. And then just tighten it down that last little bit. Now, one will be enough for now to hold that in place. Okay. Now. Here's our power, some of our power which we don't need that. In fact, these is all these power connectors here, that's all we're going to use for this particular machine. These ones we don't need them, these can go out of the way. And what we've got left is these three. Yeah? Floppy drive, this is for a basic PC, hard drive, CD-ROM, if they'll reach, which they probably will, because the CD is going to go in the 5.5-inch bay here, and hard drive is going to go in the 3 and whatever it is inch bay there, and the floppy there. So, floppy drive connector, as you can see, it's got a shape that can only be pushed in one way. It's got like a little sledge at the bottom there, yeah. So that slides in quite easily. You can see that, all right, but. Can you see that? There's the floppy. And that just. I might look at it that way. This is difficult. That just slides in there, like that. Yeah? See that? Over the floppy drive. Power connector. I'll just firmly push that in properly. Next, our hard disk. There it is. One lovely brand new hard disk. And so you've got a tear strip like that. Take that out like that. Yeah. Try and handle it around the edges. There it is, a Maxtor Diamond Plus. Find these at any computer fair. If you look on here, it's 80GB, ATA133, that's what you want. There's the jumper settings there. And basically the way it's set with the jumpers at the moment, there, that's the jumpers, that's the ID connector, that's the power. If you look at the legend on here, it's set to CS enabled, and we don't want that. We want it set to master, the one at the end there, yeah? So, you take off the jumper, just pull it off, the little jumper, yeah? And we're going to put it into the last pair of pins there. Like that. So now, it's set to master. So, there's the hard drive, and that's going to connect there to this power connector, yeah, and it slides into here. Now, I don't know if you can see this, you probably can't, but there are little lips all the way down there. So the hard drive goes in like that. Leave a space between the hard drive and the floppy drive so there's plenty of air getting around the hard drive. The one thing that is good about this case, maybe not the flashing Mercedes lights, but One thing is good about it is you've got plenty of space for more hard drives, and you've got plenty of space to space them out as well, yeah? So that's kind of cool. Okay, so another couple of these, the little lipped screws onto the screwdriver with a bit of blue tack, and just screw that in. One. And I'll try one of those dome-headed screws now, actually. Yeah, that's what I use, the dome one. This lipped one, forget that. That's not working for this hard drive. The thread's wrong. So I use the domed-headed screws. Okay. Okay. So a couple of those screwed in like that, and that's enough to mount our hard drive. I mean, there are screws around the back here. You'd have to take off the other panel. If I take that off, I'll show you. I'll take off the rear panel now. There you can see right through the computer. Took off the rear panel. Look. Round here, on the other side, you can screw in another screws here for your floppy nut. So let's do that. So another dome-headed screw, pop it in there just to give it that extra. Come on, you. There you go. Just to give it that extra support. And one of the lipped screws, which has got a slightly thinner thread, just to give the floppy drive some extra support this side. And again, make sure it's nice and flush with the front. There you go. Ta-da! And there we have it. So, we now have our floppy drive in here. See that, yeah? Our floppy drive is in here. There's our hard drive, plenty of airspace around it, lovely jubbly. That will go to power our CD-ROM, this, and this will power the hard drive, right? Next, our CD-ROM. We've got a nice light on CD-ROM with this. I like them. They've been on the market for a long time. When they first came out, like a lot of new products, they were on a promotional thing. They like to put special low prices on new products people haven't heard of. I took a not much of a chance. I took a chance, I was going to say. I bought one, put it in the machine. It's been working in there for 3 years now without ever a fault. And it's never burnt a bad CD. And there it is. Take it out of its little plastic box. And it works with Wavelab. Wavelab finds it just good. Although I did have a problem with it once, with the light on once. But I mean, you've got patches that you can get from Steinberg to fix that. So there it is. There's our light on CD. Now this is going to be the prime. This is going to be the secondary master. Yeah. So again, now you won't be able to see this because it's etched into the metal. But basically, there's the jumper switch, and it does have a thing up here saying which is master, and it's directly above, so it's really easy to see. Now it's set to slave because probably they would assume most people would put it as a slave device with the hard drive, but I want it on its own bus. Yeah. On its own ID bus, so I'm going to move the little jumper across there. I've just moved it over there, and I'm going to put it on the setting for master because that's going to go on its own ID bus. There is a problem though, and you know what that is, which I didn't think of until now, stupidly. So this just goes to show, don't do things in a rush. The cables that come with the board, that is a standard old strand cable, yeah, like slower speed. Really, you want one of these cables for it, but that's the 80 strand high speed cables, yeah. So get that out now, because we're going to use the 80 strand high speed one for the hard drive, that one for the floppy, 80 strand for the hard drive. We've got this extra one, which is the more old style one. We'll use that for the CD-ROM. I mean, you know, but to be honest, the speed that CDs feed out at, you're not going to see any difference using the slower cable. But what you will have a problem with is if you then try to put another hard drive on the secondary bus with this CD-ROM, because you're using this type of older cable, it will slow down the hard drive. So then when the time comes to add a second hard drive, get another one of those. Okay? Now, where were we? Let me just stop it. Okay, welcome back. And now, our CD-ROM. You know. Now again, move this round so you can see the front. Again, they've got these plastic plates. Again, if you reach into the drive bay here with your hand, and you can feel the clip, which is just on the edge. See that little clip there? Yeah, that just kind of pops inside there and clips it in place. Yeah, so you just get your thumb behind it, push it in that way, unclip that, slide out the cover. Right, gone. Empty hole. CD-ROM slides this way in. You don't have to bring it in from the back. And make sure it's the right way up there, ladies and gentlemen, please. Come on. There she goes. Again, make sure it's flush with the edge there. Lovely. Come around here, there's the holes. Get the screwdriver. We'll try the little lipped screw. It looks like that size hole to me. Yeah, that's the one. Just before you tighten it down, just go around there again and make sure that's flush as you want it, and just tighten it. One screw will do alright for now, it's holding it in place. Okay? Okay, so now, if you look, we've got our CD-ROM, we've got our floppy underneath, which doesn't generate any heat, so that's right. We've got a nice big space around this, we've got a nice big space around the hard drive is the main thing, plenty of airflow there. And they're all close enough together for our power leads to connect here and here, yeah? And our floppy connector is already connected, yeah? So, just easy peasy, mate. So, now let's connect up the power leads. Well, not yet. Just move them out of the way for a sec, because we need to get access to the hard drive ID connector and the CD-ROM ID connector, okay? So let me just switch this off a sec. Right, back in the land of the living, our ID cable, green. Should be able to see this really easy. Hang on. Goes to the green connector here. Just move this mass of cables out of the way, you might see that a bit better. Yeah. That is our ID connector there, that green one. Which you can just see if you move all this crap out of the way. There you go, look. ID 0, the first ID channel is green, and that lines up with that green ID there. Okay, so now if you look inside, you won't be able to see this, but if you look inside, there's a marker telling you which is pin 1, yeah, and usually it should be facing towards the front of the machine, and this, if you look, this cable has got a red strip along it, yeah, all the way down it, yeah, and that indicates pin number 1. So we plug that in. Right. It's good to see if you can see this. Oh yeah. Right, so we plug that in like that. ID 1 or ID 0 actually it is technically, but I mean that confuses people. Get in. There she goes. Right. That's ID 0, and the black one goes into the hard drive. So again, move this crap out of the way. What you can do is you can put a screwdriver in there like that, and just hold that crap out of the way. Okay. So black one again. The red that red line, that's pin 1, and that is always the one nearest to the power connector on. Hang on, you see that? That's the ID connector strip there. Okay, that's the power, that's the switch, jumper switches. The ID in pin 1 always is this side, next to the power, next to the jumpers. Yeah? So that goes in. Actually, there's another clue. If you look here, there's no pin in there, and there's no pin in the bottom here, so that goes like that. See, you can't get it wrong, man. Trust me. You know, don't be worried about doing this shit. It's easy, right? Hold the front of the case. You've got to exert a bit of force here, and push that in. There you go. Lovely. So our hard drive's connected. And last but not least, to check that our hard drive's been detected okay, connect a power block connector to there, and make sure that the flat side's down. It will only fit in one way. You'll see that. Again, grab the front of the case and push that in. It goes in. Ooh, there you go, nice and firm. Okay, so we've got power. We've got the ID cable connected. We're now ready to boot up and see if that's been detected okay. Okay, let's boot. Let's boot it up. Come on, get in focus. What's wrong with it? Ah, there we are. Okay, we booted up. Oh yes, and there's our hard drive. Now it still says boot disk failure. That's because there's nothing formatted on the disk. Alright, that's simple enough. So, what we're going to do now is go into the BIOS. So just hit the reset button. Get ready with the Del key. Del. Into the BIOS. Come on, get in focus. Lovely. Okay, so standard CMOS features. Press enter. We did our date already, and there's our hard drive. A Maxtor 6Y0880LO. If I press enter, I can see the details, and it's set to ID primary master, and access mode is auto. If I press enter, you can choose LBA, large, auto, whatever. We'll leave it in auto, yeah. And there's the capacity underneath, 81 gigabytes. Okay, lovely. So we're all sorted. And our secondary master is going to be the CD-ROM there, which is set to auto as well. So that'll be detected when we boot. So that's all in place. Now let's power down and connect the CD-ROM, because of course we have to have that in, otherwise we can't install Windows. Okay, lastly, well not lastly actually, CD-ROM. Take it out of the bag, the other cable. Okay, this is the cable we're going to use to connect the CD-ROM. Now most of these board packages that you get from the manufacturers, they include one of these 80 strand ATA faster cables, the newer ones, yeah, for the hard drive. And but they always usually chuck in one of these older 40 strand cables. Now they'd mostly, as I said, expect people to put the hard drive and the CD-ROM on the same bus as master and slave, but what we're going to do for the purpose of this PC is we're going to have the hard drive on its own ID bus all by itself, and the CD-ROM on its own ID bus all by itself, so they're on completely separate ID buses. Okay, so we take the 40 strand cable. Again, it has a longer bit with the two connectors at the other end. Okay, so the longer bit goes into the board. Again, we have the red strip down the edge of the cable, and we have the missing pin and the little notched bit there to help us put it into the slot the right way. So, as we've already established that pin 1 is this side of the board, we take the red strip, line it up with this end, and we insert this end into the second ID connector above the green one, which is ID channel 1. The green one, the first ID channel, is called ID channel 0. Okay, so here we go. We plug that in to the ID second channel connector. Okay, now there is something you need to note here. With these older 40 strand cables, The master goes on the first connector working up the cable from the motherboard. The slave goes on the very last connector. Whereas with these newer 80 strand cables, the master goes on the black connector at the very end and the slave goes in the middle connector. So make sure you get that right. Yeah. Now we take the red strip again, which always goes nearest to the power plug here, the connector for the power, and we plug that, the middle one, which is the master, yeah, not the M one, which is for slave. We plug this into the ID connector on the CD-ROM. Okay, here we go. Just plug that in like that. Fold that over the top like that, out of the way. You can blue tack that on top of there if you like, just to stick it down. Get it out of the way, even make sure it doesn't pop back. And connect our power for the CD-ROM, which again, flat side down. And that firmly pushes in like that, okay? Okay, so that's our CD-ROM connected. And that just leaves our floppy drive, which we need to connect the ribbon cable for that. Here's our floppy drive cable. You'll notice one end has this weird split affair. That's because in the very, very early days, these three cable sections where it splits there actually had their own individual connectors. Yeah, that on the floppy thing, it wasn't just like on the floppy drive. You didn't get one block like that. You got three separate little connectors which connected to the floppy. So I tend to, I don't know if you have to do this to be honest, but I always put the split end into the floppy drive. So we do that again. It can only go in one way because you have this notch. Okay, so plug this end with the split bit into the floppy drive. Okay, here we go. And again, you'll find that the red actually does line up, so it goes next to the power connector again. So that goes in like that to the floppy drive. There it is. That's in. I'm going to feed this through the back just to get it out of the way and round all these other cables like that. And I'm going to bring it back in this, in here, like that. Okay, there it is. And that's going to go into the floppy drive socket, which you can maybe just see there, which is there. Okay, so you'll find it on the build sheet. And that pops in to our floppy drive socket there, like that. There it is. Let me just move that stuff out of the way. Can you see that all right? There's our floppy drive connected there. Okay, and the power lead here, we already connected it earlier. Okay, so that's all our core components now fitted. Graphics card, RAM, cooler, our hard drive, which is on ID channel 0, which is the first ID channel, on the 80 strand 80A connector cable, and it's on the last connector, the black one, the middle one being left, for the secondary device if we add one. The CD-ROM is on the second ID channel, ID1, and that's using an older 40 strand cable, and it's connected using the first connector working up the cable, with the last one being left free. Yeah? Now, don't worry about using an older 40 strand for this CD. This 40 strand cable won't really reduce the throughput, and it'll work alright for burning and for reading. But if you do ever add another hard drive onto this ID channel with the CD-ROM, then this cable will slow down the hard drive, because all the hard drives you buy now require one of these 80 strand faster cables. Okay, so if you ever put a hard drive on this bus with the CD-ROM, change this grey cable for one of these. They're about £5 or £6 from a computer fair. Okay, so that's everything done, and we're ready to boot and check the BIOS, make sure that the CD-ROM and the floppy have been detected okay, because we already booted and checked the hard drive, and then we're ready to install Windows. Here we go.